welcome to that children's time for this Sunday. Let's just start with a word of prayer. Dear Lord, bless this time together and help us to learn something new about you so that increase our understanding of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. Amen. This is one of my favourite Christmas presents. It's a coin, in fact it's a denarius, and it's got the Emperor Vespasian on it. I really like this because I'm rather interested in the Emperor Vespasian, and I've had it for a very long time. It's one of my favourite Christmas presents. Just spend a little bit of time now and talk to someone around you about what's one of your favourite Christmas presents. Okay, do all Christmas presents last? Christmas present like that, or say gold coins, which are a favourite in our family, they're not going to last for very long, are they? Or even toys. You've met Miffy before, but look, poor old Miffy's really on the way out. So even toys don't last for very long. We grow out of clothes, or they go out of fashion, or they wear out, and so they don't last forever. Okay, that seems like a funny way to be starting, but we're going to take a little sidetrack. Think about the Bible and think about the Gospels, and what's the way that they all start? So have a think about it, have a talk about it, and we'll come back. Who said they start with the Christmas story? If you did, that's, seems to be the case in most cases. Okay, we're going to be reading from John this week, and we're going to be reading from the first chapter of John. And so we think it might be something to do with Christmas? Well, let's have a look. So I'm reading from John chapter 1 verse 10. He was in the world and he was in the world and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. But to all who received him and who believed in his name, he gave the power to be the children of God, who were born not of blood, or of the will of man, or of flesh, but of God. Christmas story? Bit odd. There are no mangers, no camels, no inns, nothing that we'd really think about as being Christmas. But yet this is the real Christmas story. This is about telling us that Jesus came into the world to make us the children of God, to be his followers. It was the ultimate Christmas present. It made us one with God. It doesn't wear out. Look, no Miffies. It doesn't get eaten up. It doesn't go out of fashion. Always we remain the children of God. Okay, let's just have a little prayer. Dear God, we want to say thank you for loving us so much that you sent Jesus into the world so that we could have the really great present of being your children. Now, in the material that's available to you, there are two worksheets, but I've also sent you 2 letter J's. There's this one, which I thought was a bit more interesting, and this one, which is a bit more straightforward. What I want you to do with them is colour them in. Now, this is very boring colouring in, but I've coloured in the letter, and then around it I've placed all sorts of symbols that have something to do with Jesus. And that's what I'd like you to do with the ones that have been sent to you. And if you'd like to send us a picture or a copy, we'd like it, and we can see whether it might end up in the news sheet. Thank you.
God has has got the whole world. In his hands he's got the whole world. In his hands he's got the whole world. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got Cairns and Brizzy. In his hands he's got Keith and Wyalla. In his hands he's got Darwin and Catherine. In his hands he's got Australia. In his hands he's got the duck-billed platypus. In his hands he's got the furry koala. In his hands he's got the frill-necked lizard. In his hands he's got Australia. In his hands he's got Sydney and Melbourne. In his hands he's got Hungerford and Cobar. In his hands he's got Echuca and Yamurka. In his hands he's got Australia. In his hands he's got the mountains and the outback. In his hands he's got the rivers and the beaches. In his hands he's got the bush and the city. In his hands he's got Australia. In his hands God has got the, come on, whole world. In his hands he's got the whole world. In his hands he's got the whole world. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. And that means he's got Australia in his hands.